Waking up to see Erin out here in the tropical Atlantic. Well, subtropical Atlantic, really. Erin off the coast here. I'm not sure what happened to my overlay here, but sorry about that. Um, Erin is starting to move to the northeast here, it looks like, as of right now, with wind and waves being felt along the Outer Banks of North Carolina and waves propagating up into the northeast mid-Atlantic coast and all along the eastern seaboard here. Quite an impressive storm overall. Um, you can see it's getting some dry air on the western side here, bringing it off the continental U.S. You can see a deep trough building along the, which is helping move it out to sea here. So we have also the disturbance out here to the north of the Lesser Antilles. We have 99 L out here, which looks more impressive than it is right now. Um, According to the National Hurricane Center, there's still not a close circulation, and they determined this by looking at satellite wind data. So the disturbance is located right about here. Satellite wind data, it really doesn't show. These are winds at different direction and speeds. I know it's really hard to put out. The little barbs indicate direction winds are going to and coming from. This may be right on the edge of where the disturbance might be right on the edge where the satellite passed over. It's right about 10 north, which is also a factor too, with the Coriolis force being minimal around 10 north. That's about the lowest latitude you can get a cyclone to develop here. And we have another disturbance maybe moving off the coast of Africa. That's we'll see what happens with that. So with that, here is the surface wind field estimate for Hurricane Erin as of 2 a.m. We got tropical storm warnings along the eastern seaboard here, and tropical storm watch on Bermuda. Given its fast speed, it's supposed to pick up speed and move to the north here. I'm not certain that they're going to feel tropical storm force winds out here. But so that remains to be seen. The main effects, of course, we have storm surge forecast storm surge 2 to 4 feet along the Outer Banks today. This is 11 p.m. advisory. Should be another one at 5, and likely some of this will be shaved off as it moves to the north here. But I saw some pictures yesterday before the storm was at its closest, and there was already water coming in these areas. So doesn't take much. 2 to 4 feet is, it's enough to flood your basement if it gets up into your house. So, or low-lying areas. That's a fair amount of water. Rip current. So rip current risk. That's probably the biggest risk when you're talking about threat to life with people. People go out in the surf right now. You're taking your life in your own hands. Do not go out in the surf when the storm's nearby. Wait, just don't do it. It's very dangerous. And rip currents, you can't see them usually. And when you get pulled up in them, then it's likely too late at that point. So just don't go out in the water. Rip current risk for tomorrow. Still some along the Florida coast, North Carolina, South Carolina coast, Virginia, all along the eastern seaboard. So, so When we look at the arrival time of winds, of course, we're already past 2 a.m., but likely to get close to Bermuda, but it's moving pretty quickly here Thursday, Friday, way out to sea. Um, Pretty quickly here, maybe along Atlantic Canada, maybe clipping the northeast corridor a little bit, but it's moving pretty quickly at that point, so the long-term effects probably won't be as bad. That's at earliest reasonable, most likely close to about the same, but there's a 3-day forecast here. So we'll soon be done with Erin, right? But what's going to happen next? Um, well, here's the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We got Erin, 945 millibar pressure, moving to the northeast at 17 miles an hour. Like I said, it's accelerating and will continue to do so. And likely won't strengthen anymore. Shear is increasing, water's getting colder eventually. So, next thing we got to think about here is this disturbance now has a 70% chance of development in the next 7 days, 30% in the next 48 hours. And disturbance out here. See what it says with the text that does not have a well-defined center, even though it looks better organized than it really is. And not expected to develop further as it moves further west due to environmental conditions getting less than favorable here. So, what's driving? Well, what does the Google DeepMind and Euro model say? We have the disturbance out here. We have Erin, and we have Erin, the disturbance out here, 99L. You can see the Euro ensembles want to develop a tropical storm here, and a low developed north or lesser already developing a low out here. This is a little bit behind on the run time, but um, you see what I'm talking about here. This system out here wants to may develop a low and meander out here off the coast of Africa. The deep mine wants to develop a low pressure, but the Euro isn't that bullish on it. This kind of fizzles out. And that's it. None of the next gen models really are doing much more in the deep tropics for a little while here, which is will give us a little. I think there's going to be a lull in activity for a few days towards the end of August, as you can see, indicated by different models, not indicating a lot of activity, but activity picking up in the East Pacific. So once we're done with these two, I think we're going to have a lull in activity for a few days. Jumping back to the waves and winds. This is a significant wave height and direction of combined wind waves and swells modeled as Erin moves to the north here. You see where the biggest swells, winds and waves are in the deeper colors here. 25, 30-foot waves, even higher, close to the center of Erin. And fixing to hit the coast of England and Scotland here towards the end of the period with some really strong winds and waves. The wave peak period and direction of the kind of wind waves and swell combined wind waves and swells. This is about the initialization time of Erin. The most wind waves and swells are concentrated in this area here where all the current is funneled right into this sound or whatever that is right there. I don't know what that's called. Anyway, 13, 15 feet, 17 feet, moving to the north here along the coast, and then along the Atlantic Canada. We went out to sea, and you see how the waves, wind waves, and swells propagate all the way to the coast of Africa and to the European continent, into Europe there. So, pretty amazing how far those winds and waves propagate out. So, European model ensembles. Got Erin off the coast here. This is you have this disturbance to the east of the Antilles, disturbance out here, which the Euro has really latched onto it here. And you see what it wants to do with this disturbance, move it. The members want to move it right near to the east of Bermuda and not do really anything with that other disturbance out here in the Atlantic. So if you look at the surface, you have Erin out here moving away. The European model doesn't really see that where the disturbance is right. Wants to maybe develop a low out here, but not do much with it at all. And it moves it pretty far east. This is the operational run, and the ensembles were a little bit further to the left, so I'm not sure why that's that way. But let me see if I can get. I have a. This is a more recent run. I'm sorry about that. Pretty much the same solution here. Develop a weak tropical depression, and really nothing more than that. East of Bermuda. And this is the relative humidity model by the European model for the Erin tropical disturbance out here. I'm not going to talk much more about this one because it's really not supposed to do much. So, see the wave pocket and moisture kind of gets torn apart here. Not much moisture associated with it, at least according to this model. Kind of gets a lot of dry air right there. So, that's one of the reasons I think why it's not developing. We already looked at that. Um, we looked at that. So what's driving Helene? The 850, the 500 millibar flow and the 850 millibar low centers here. You have Erin. I don't know why I keep saying Helene, trying to say it. And you have the vortex 850 associated with its disturbance, and this one down here. European has subtropical high out here, building a little bit over top of this disturbance here. You see what's happening along as Erin lifts out. A deep trough builds over the east of the United States. Subtropical high shifts to the east here. Another high pressure builds to the south of this disturbance. And the disturbance rides along the periphery of the um, high pressure there. Likely following the low level flow. Let's take a look. Yeah, see the surface high is right there as well. It's following that flow. Look at that. What is the GFS ensemble show? Have Erin disturbance out here in the Caribbean, the disturbance out here in the way east tropical Atlantic. Really wants a concentrated area here. Quite a few members agreeing on something being around Bermuda in 4 days. What does the operational run show? Let's develop a low, maybe a tropical storm or hurricane moving over Bermuda in 5 days. So, a lot of these members agree, but they differ from the Euro quite significantly of placement and intensity at this point. And you can see the humidity values associated with the GFS. It wants to keep the more humid mid-levels surrounding this thing, even though it remains quite small. So compared to Erin, it's going to be tiny if it does develop. You can see the vortex here associated with that system. 850 millibar, 500 millibar flow here. Following this flow, moving out to sea as the trough is over the east of the U.S. there. So the dominating factor over the past couple of weeks has been this persistent trough building in repeatedly over the east coast and keeping these storms from coming in any further than they did. So another thing to look at here is a 200 millibar upper level flow. It's hard to point out. You get the low right here. This is the GFS model that we're talking about north of the east of the Lesser Antilles. Kind of a trough right here associated with it. And then the GFS wants to maybe develop some divergence aloft. And that's likely what's helping you get it going right there, although it remains quite small. Might end up being a Cat 1 or Cat 2 hurricane if this does develop. We'll just have to see. And this is a simulated satellite associated with disturbance. See, it really doesn't gain much organization until this shows it may be developing an eye right here, south of the of Bermuda. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. That's it for the tropics. Next, I'm going to go over some longer and shorter range local weather for the continental U.S. I haven't done that in a few days, so I want to do that for folks today. Stay tuned. On the U.S., it's kind of nice to see, isn't it? Really good chances of below average temps for most areas east of the Rockies and even to the Mountain West, with above normal chances of warmer weather in the deeper reds here. Of course, almost close to 100% chance of temps being below normal during this period. So looking forward to that. Very unusual for August for this to happen, but this is the beginning of the fall patterns that will increasingly penetrate the continental U.S. as we move into fall here. As far as a 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, above normal for along the good portion of the western U.S. into the mid-Mississippi Valley, lower Mississippi Valley, and of course where a trough builds along the East Coast of cooler weather. And maybe where a front hangs out along the coast here, we might have some above normal precip, but it's going to be kind of dry for a few days here, August 26th through 30th. So it might have some opportunities for flooding. Opportunities meaning not good, but um, here in the Intermountain West here. We'll just have to see what happens. Matter of fact, I'm traveling out to Colorado at the end of the month, so we'll see what happens out there. Maybe get to see some storms and supercells and stuff. So this is the 8 to 14 temperature 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Still leaning towards below average temps for a good portion of the United States in the same areas here above normal. Same kind of theme here, although there may be a boundary that sets up in some pockets of above normal precip where looks like there's a boundary that sets up here, like I said, and then we have the trough kind of lifting out over the eastern US over time here. If we even go further out, this is the 28th through the 3rd. Week 3 to 4 temperature outlook, equal chances of being above or below normal in the northern tier and along the west coast, and above normal chances for being warmer than normal in the deeper reds here, oranges. 3 to 4 precipitation outlook. Most of the U.S. has equal chances of being above or below normal. This is August 30th to September 12th. Above normal on the west coast here. So it's really, sporadic, sparse areas of above and below normal precip. But going back to the 6 to 10 day, this is what I really like to see. It's pretty nice. All right, so the we got the current hazards today. Of course, we got the flood watches and warnings along the east coast of the U.S. Tropical storm warnings with Erin. The big deal today is, of course, the heat across the western U.S. Red flag warnings, heat advisories, extreme heat watch, which is I haven't seen much of this year. So fire risk in this area is very high right now. So I'm going to go over the fire risk in this area next. This is the fire, the drought U.S. drought monitor. This map shows you where the most extreme drought is right now, and you can see a good portion of the Intermountain West and along the basically anywhere west of the Rockies and into Texas are in extreme, exceptional drought and moderate abnormally dry. Not many areas that aren't even abnormally dry, really. And east of the Rockies, not too bad. So one can understand why there's a fire risk with the dry conditions that are going on right now and winds and things like that. So, given that, this is the fire risk for today. High risk in the areas with the L here. Of course, east of the Rockies, some areas are in risk, but not nearly like on the west coast here. Lightning is where the L's are, the biggest risk from lightning due to thunderstorms. R would be recreation, human activity generated, burn environment, hot temperatures, instability, wind, or a combination of the factors. And the winds would be, um, you see different colors dictate the risk, moderate risk, brown, yellow, low fire, risk of large fires, little no risk or no data, and the gray. and green is little or no risk. Move through time here. You see the lightning risk moves to the south here, the burn risk again. Potential for large fire growth. Stays out here, really, through Sunday and into Monday and moves up to the northwest with lightning chances and things like that. But you can see what I'm talking about here. There's quite an elevated risk for fires along the west coast here in the coming days. As far as severe weather goes, not a lot going on outside, of course, of Erin out here in the tropics. And in the East Pacific, maybe some possibility of storm developing here. Severe weather really driven by wind and hail risk over the next couple of days with 5% wind risk. Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming. Hail risk in the same areas. Quite low risk, really. And the hail risk moves to the south here, likely with a frontal boundary here along the upper Midwest and the high plains. Wind risk in generally the same areas. And categorical risk for day 3 just shows general thunderstorms. So the risk for severe weather is quite low in the coming days, which is a welcome break from seemed like we had severe weather going on for quite a while there. It was impacting a lot of people, so this is good news. So, what's a mid-level flow pattern look like in the coming days? We have, and this is a good way to show how it's going to impact our weather in the coming days. So, you see Erin lifting out with the trough out to sea there, high pressure in place over the west here, being suppressed southward by this trough building in over Canada. That trough wants to remain and maybe even become negatively tilted here, which means that it's going to be quite intense. And even through the 28th, which is a week from now, it finally lifts out. So that's what's driving our weather in the next 7 days. And then a little further out, the trough lifts out. The GFS wants to bring a really deep system further south along the northwest coast. And if it moves over the Rockies and does what this says it's going to do, we could have some really severe weather um, in store the first week of September. We'll just see after how this plays out, but that's what it looks like for now. You see where the highest temperatures are, of course, in the west here, and in the deep south, in the upper Midwest, high plains, in the mountains here are going to be really hot too. Minimum temps, of course, cool down at night. Nicely cool up here in the northwest. But other than that, in the northeast, that's where the trough is up here. Max temps on Friday was relatively cool-ish for this time of year here. And of course, in the west, it's going to remain hot. You see the up in the northeast and in the upper Midwest, things are starting to cool off here. And then Saturday, max temps in the 80s along the eastern seaboard here. Nice. And the lower in the deep south, even getting less than 100. That's amazing. Of course, the west is going to be hot again. Um, and min temps, you can see what the cool air pushing in now in the upper Midwest, 40s, 50s. It's going to feel, you're going to have to put a jacket on when you get out there. um, Highs in the 60s and 70s. I take that any day, especially this time of year. Min temps, 40s, maybe pushing 30s if we're lucky up here. Lucky mean this time of year, I'd welcome that couple days in August, you know? Max temps for Monday, good portion of the US, not really getting above 80 degrees north of, you know, the deep south here. Maybe along the East Coast, likely a frontal boundary here. West stays relatively hot. Min temps 40s, 50s. That's an indication of how dry the air is going to be getting coming in here. And then max temps in the 80s for the deep south and really being pushed southward here. Min temps in the 60s, mid 60s down here in the south, and 50s and 40s. The cooler air is really overspreading a lot of the US here. It's crazy how much cooler it's going to be. Max temps. So, you know, it's going to be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I'll take temperatures in the deep south any day, and you can see the max temps for day 7. I'll take the 80s and 70s. I mean, this is nice. Starting to warm up again in the upper Midwest. So sorry, guys. We look at the rainfall potential here along the spine of the Appalachians in the deep south. Not a lot to write home about, of course, with Erin moving out here. Maybe along the northeast, where maybe there's a boundary set up there. 48-hour ending Friday, August 22nd. Precip looks to be on the increase here in the south. Some kind of boundary is set up here. I'm going to have to look at that closer. I'm going to show you all that next. Might have some flooding risk here, and I'll go over that next with the excessive rainfall outlook for today. Marginal risk along the Gulf Coast into the southeast, Appalachians here, upper Midwest along the desert Southwest. Slight risk of excessive rainfall, middle Georgia all along to the southeast coast of Georgia and the South Carolina coast, along the Gulf Coast into the parts of Tennessee, and of course in the desert Southwest. Still marginal risk of excessive rainfall here in the southeast, and kind of expanding here in the desert Southwest at day 3. Day 4, that flooding risk along the spine of the Appalachians here into Florida, and in the Intermountain West into the Midwest here. And day 5, likely a boundary sitting up here at day 5 with a slight risk, excessive rainfall, Colorado, Oklahoma, Utah, Nevada, marginal risk, Wyoming, and in the Northeast, Maine and Vermont. And when we look at the what's driving this, we could see a cold front draped across this area here, almost by the Appalachians really, and some surface troughs here south of it, and a frontal boundary bisecting the metro area in the northeast mid-Atlantic, and some complex frontal interactions here going on in the upper Midwest and Northwest. And so when you go to day 2, the front moves further south. We just saw a boundary here in the surface troughs, which is likely the reason for the slight risk of excessive rainfall in this area and these areas. Maybe where the surface trough is here, we may have something going on too. And then day 3, which is Sunday or Saturday. You see that surface boundary along the Gulf Coast again, and a cold front, different troughs out here. And where these stalled boundaries are and this front starting to push through, that's likely areas are going to have the most interactions and chance of smaller chance of severe weather, but rainfall seems to be the biggest risk in the short term here. So, what's today's forecast for the? I just zoomed in on the Warner Robins area. Let's take a look. I didn't prepare this ahead of time, so I apologize. Mostly clear tonight. We know that because it's 2:17 a.m. Chance of shower and thunderstorms today, high of 91. 40% chance of precip. Shower and thunderstorms tonight. Into Friday, chance of shower and thunderstorms increasing overnight. And into Friday, good chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Decreasing overnight, which it usually does, high of 83. And that these high temperatures are likely driven by cloud cover, right? So the cloudier it is, less sun can get through. Look at here. Get towards Monday. Wind from the northwest, north, low of 64, high of 87, low of 65, high 82. Looking forward to that. It's going to feel really nice next week here in middle Georgia. Enjoy it because it's not going to last forever. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, that's all for today. Hope you all have a great day and God bless.